another live video. Really excited about this one. I've been telling you I'm going to bring it to you the last couple weeks, but here it is. These are my predictions for the past, where we come from the past, where we are in the present, where we're going in the future in Toronto real estate. And if you're getting value out of these videos, please like, please comment, get your voice heard. If you follow us on YouTube, please subscribe. And those of you on Facebook, add our GTA real estate page so you can watch these in real time. Every Wednesday at 12 we post these live videos. Before I get started, I'd like to introduce you to a family member of mine. His name is, he's right here, he's kind of tucked in the corner. His name is Phileo. He's going to be a big brother in December, and he's very jealous because I do all these videos all around him all the time at home, but I never really feature him, so I thought I'd give him some airtime just to make him feel included. So let's start with where we've been. Let's start with the past before we get into where we're going. If you guys recall, in April we had this foreign buyers tax. It's very common knowledge. 15% was added, and it clearly changed the consumer confidence in the Toronto area. From there, and since then, we've seen the mortgage guidelines have gotten that much harder, really taking a beating are the first-time home buyers on that. But now we're also seeing interest rates starting to go up. We've seen the second increase in the last few months, and now it's up to 1%, but there's talks it could go up to 2%, and this seems to be fairly common knowledge that interest rates will continue to increase. All of the news that we hear seem to be negative. It seems as if the sky is falling 24/7. And I think the real issue, if I were to really narrow it down, is consumer confidence. We're waiting for the day that the consumer becomes confident in the Toronto real estate market and what it has to offer. But I want to, what I'm going to show you from these numbers, I think it might be sooner than expected. But I'll leave that up to you to draw your own conclusions. So let's look at what we saw last month in the month of August. In August, the big headlines everyone's talking about is sales are down 35% year over year. Damn, that sucks, right? But when I look at the numbers, I'm actually looking at it compared to July as well, and technically the numbers have gone up since the previous month, which is very unusual seasonally. And I think it's just another way of showing that we're really looking at just the impact of these changes that happen. They're not really material changes. So now we've actually seen the sales are starting to increase in months that they don't normally. So that's the bad news. Sales are down 35% compared to a 2016 year that was just on fire. But let me share some more positive news that doesn't really go reported, but I think is very valuable and very important for us to note. First off, the price of the average home in Toronto is up 3%. And I think some of you have heard that number. It is what it is. It seems to be slightly above inflation, no big deal. But look at these. No one's talking about this. Our new listings are actually down 6.7%. So if you go back, that's actually the lowest it's been since 2010. Now, you'll recall 6 months ago when these foreign buyers changed, this tax change happened, the amount of listings just went through the roof. Sales went down, but the listings were up 60%. But yet now we find ourselves in August and the listings have actually gone down by 6.7. But now to add to that as well, if you look, now many of you who follow these update videos when I do them, I like to follow months of inventory. Our months of inventory in July, last month, was very high. It reached a peak since April. And it was at 3.1%. So it was pretty substantial. But now where we stand, it actually has come back down for the very first time since these changes, and it's down to 2.6. So what does that say? I don't know what it says to you, but it tells me that things seem to be leveling out. No longer are sellers coming and just jumping into the market. In fact, if you compared it to Vancouver, which everyone agrees is a red hot market and is fully rebounded from those changes, they actually sit at 2.9. So here we're sitting 2.6 days on our months of inventory. We seem to be moving along pretty well, despite what everyone is saying. But what it does tell us is that we sit in a balanced market. Now, if you go a little deeper, you'll see the detached market is still very friendly for buyers, and it seems to be between a balanced to buyer market. But when we look in the condos, townhomes, and semi-detached, those seem to be favoring now. Now, they've been this way for a little while, but very heavily they seem to be in favor of the seller and indicative of a balanced market. All right, those are the facts. Let's talk about where we're going. I want to also share what I know I'm seeing in the industry on a day-to-day and talking to other real estate professionals. And I think I can really narrow it down to a couple things. First off, I'm starting to notice there's no more fire sales. I'm not noticing as many people that are in a rush to dump their property. And this is just a trend that I happen to see. But on the other side as well, I'm starting to see buyers that are coming out of their hibernation. They've been sitting very passive for the last few years, seem to be coming back, and I think the main driver of that is the increasing interest rate. I think they're recognizing that interest rates are going to continue to increase, that the price of homes is better than it's been in a very long time, and that the mortgage guidelines and the interest rates are only going to get that much harder. So I think they're locking in now. And so we're kind of seeing this surge going on in the industry. All of that I can drive to say I believe that consumer confidence is increasing even now, which I didn't expect to see it this strong until next year. So let's talk about where we're going to go in the future. Okay. Now, clearly the fundamentals are strong, and I don't think anyone really disagrees with that. If interest rates are increasing, that means that the economy is doing well, right? We're looking at a balanced market, so we're not heavily in favor of either side. So we're looking pretty good at this point. But also housing starts, some of you might have heard this in the news, the housing starts last month were actually up, which people were shocked. They weren't expecting it. So the numbers, builders seem to be very hopeful of where we're going, and they seem to recognize there's a need for supply. Even though it doesn't maybe sound that like it works, from a builder standpoint, they recognize the supply is needed in the long term. So I think we're looking at one of two scenarios at this point. First off, and what I think everyone is expecting, is we're going to continue a slow growth that's just above inflation, and this is assuming all of these facts remain constant. But what I actually think might happen is I think things might actually speed up quicker than expected, especially in the fall market. And that is because I'm noticing this pullback of listings, or even if they remain constant, by having this demand, these buyers that are coming out of the shadows and willing to start buying properties because of all of these changes that are sudden and will affect their affordability, that could mean that we start to see an uptick sooner than expected. You can draw your own conclusions. These are the facts that I'm seeing. I want to ask you guys, leave your comments. What do you think? Do you think we're going to start to see a change this fall? Or do you think we're looking more next year? Or maybe you even think it'll be 2 years? I'd love to hear your feedback. Get involved. Tell us what you think. And as normal, we'll check in next week. Please make sure you subscribe and follow our page. Stay up to date on the latest tips and tricks. I'll check in with you live next Wednesday. Take care, guys. Keep it real.